everybody, to Smarter Tomorrow, a podcast by EcoSmart Home Pros. Joined again today with by Will.
Hello.
Yeah, so today is all about kind of building the dream home theater. We're going to talk to Will about some of the projects he's been working on, kind of um, whether you're trying to build like a movie lover's haven or gamer's paradise or whatever you want to call it, kind of the ultimate sports package. EcoSmart Home has kind of done it all, and Will's got a lot of experience under his belt doing that, especially recently. So yeah, we're gonna ask a few questions and kind of go from there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about like a generic home theater. So we'll get to projectors and some of the bigger things later, but for now, um, if you go to Best Buy or any box store, you're going to see 4K, 8K, QLED, OLED. Give us a rundown. Like, what are the, what are the points for some of that stuff?
So for a lot of it, it's just their version of the same technology. Like the QLED is Samsung's version of the LG OLED. LG was originally the one that did the patent for OLED TVs, so like it's their technology first. Everybody else riffs off of it, just like uh, as a small tangent, like iPhone screens are developed by Samsung. Uh, so like it's the technology gets pulled from all these different people
Right.
for all these different things. 8K TVs do exist. They're definitely future forward. There's not a whole lot to really do with them right now. There isn't a lot of 8K content. If anything, there's, I think if I had to throw a number at it, less than 5% of content is 8K capable.
So they seem pretty expensive, those TVs.
They've always been expensive, and they're always going to continue to be expensive. But like your standard 4K, or if you go into like the LG like C4, or which is a higher end model of the OLED TVs, you're gonna get a better picture quality, better color quality, but you do run risk of burn-in because each individual pixel is the one that's turning on all the time, as opposed to like an older style panel TV, which I think the one that we have showing our logo today is a more standard panel TV where each section turns on as opposed to like individual pixels. So it prevents a little bit of burn-in because it's bigger chunks of the screen that are on and changing as opposed to having those individual pixels.
So I guess if I were to go to a Best Buy, I would see 100 different options for 4K TVs, some that are just a few $100s, or I could go to Walmart and get a TV for $300. That's a 75-inch 4K. Why do I want to go with a more expensive TV? Like, what's the point of going with a 4K TV that's $4,000 versus $400?
A lot of it boils down to the internals, and same with anything else. Like you go with the more expensive option, it gets more premium parts. It gets things that are going to be better, last longer, be faster. Again, tangentially going with like the iPhone 16e or whatever it is versus the Pro, there's better RAM in there. There's better processors, so everything works a little bit better and a little bit smoother on the more expensive options.
So they're both technically 4K still. You're
Right.
just getting a better experience with the higher end.
Right. And the other thing is that like the $300 or $400 4K TV from Walmart, which I definitely did not buy, uh, may have issues within a year or two of buying it.
Sure.
You might try to turn it on and it'll flash on for 2 seconds. You have to turn it on 7 or 8 times. Definitely not from personal experience. But my $2,000 QLED that I have upstairs in my bedroom, I hit the button to turn it on, it turns on, everything works. So it's that difference, because I bought that TV for my living room. That was like the $300-400 Black Friday special. I bought it a year and a half, 2 years ago. It doesn't turn on when I hit the button anymore. I have to turn it on 5, 6, 7 times. But I bought that QLED in 2019, 2018, something like that, when we still worked at Best Buy. It still turns on, still does what it's supposed to do. Uh, so that's the biggest difference between the two. And then it also comes down to brand and like the brand name. And Sony is going to always be a little bit more expensive because they've marketed themselves that way.
Right.
They've proven that track record of having a little bit more quality and stuff in their TVs. And especially with the new technology that they put into them too, some of the new Bravias, the screen is actually the speaker. Because with a lot of newer TVs, they're so much thinner. There's no space for those speakers
Right.
to move anymore. So the sound quality is really like deteriorated on new TVs, as opposed to the giant CRTs that we had in the 90s that, you know, you needed a moving team to move around with you.
Right.
But the sound was great on them because there was 3 feet of space for them to move.
You say in the 90s, but I'm old. My freshman year of college, I brought one of those CRT TVs.
Exactly.
Granted, I was also poor, but yeah, I had one of those for a long time.
Oh yeah, I still have one for my Nintendo 64.
Nice. Yeah.
Just
I mean,
just to like
yeah.
just to keep that true experience.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, as far as like that different technology, it's always there's so much going on with it.
There's always so much.
Yeah.
And that's why like doing your research before you go talk to anybody, you know, especially in a more like sales centric job like Best Buy or you know, in the opposite where it's I'm here to do my job and if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you
Yeah.
don't, like Target or Walmart or anybody else because they don't go through the training and stuff that we did at Best Buy to figure out why those TVs are better.
Right.
Or the research or, you know, webinars or, you know, pet projects that we do here with Eco to go figure out what we need to know about
Right.
those TVs or projectors or, you know, like why a gray projector screen is better than a white one for certain situations and stuff like
Right.
that.
Well, and you know, nothing against Best Buy or big box stores, but a lot of those people just treat those jobs as jobs. Whereas I know that from personal experience, everybody at Eco Smart Home is very into technology. It's a passion for us. So
Yeah.
that's another reason. I mean, obviously, it's arguable whether people would work if you didn't need to, but aside from that, like we would still be into technology if we weren't in the tech.
Right. Still be a passion, still be a
Yeah.
hobby. Like for the people that have that, getting into a job like that or a job like this is you hardly work a day.
Yeah.
You know, like I've spent 3 or 4 hours in the last day and a half programming a controller system for a house.
Yeah.
It's repetitive, but it's cool because I know at the end of the day when I go test it, click that button, it's going to do the thing I told it to do, and then hopefully it's right.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah. So, went over displays a little bit. Obviously, plugging Eco Smart Home Pros. If you have questions, let us know. We'll put our website link in the description. So swing over there and make an appointment with Will. He'll answer all your questions.
I can't answer them. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, you'll probably figure it out. Yeah. Okay. So audio. Let's talk about audio. Let's give a super basic kind of overview. What is the point stuff? 5.1, 7.1. What does that mean?
Yeah. So all the numbers and stuff that you see when you go to, you know, Best Buy, Walmart, you go look online at like different audio systems. They denote the amount of speakers, subwoofers, and side channels. So your standard 5.1 surround sound is going to be 5 speakers, 1 subwoofer. In the background here, we have a 5.1 setup. I think it's actually 7.1. 7.1.2 technically. So for the podcast listeners, we have 7 speakers in front, we have 1 subwoofer, and 2 back channels. For everybody that's here, the sound bar is all 7 channels. The subwoofer is down on the floor. We have the 2 back channels here, and that creates a specific type of speaker setup called Dolby Atmos, where you have all of the different things that bring it all together and give you that amount of stuff, amount of audio output, basically. But going back to the standard stuff, 5.1 is just 5 channels for speakers and then 1 subwoofer. 5.1.2 would be the 5 channels, the subwoofer, and 2 back channels. So you see all those different numbers, and it really just means how many more speakers there are than the other option. Getting into like Dolby Atmos and everything like that, there is a specific speaker setup. But there's also the content that you're playing has to support Dolby Vision or Dolby Atmos.
Or right. So like a 7.2 would be 7 surround speakers and 2 subwoofers.
Right.
Okay.
But you can do that as well. But again, you have to have the content that's coded audio, like the audio coding for getting the
Right.
most out of those speakers.
Well, I think some of the higher end ones, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I have a 3.1 JBL soundbar. It was fairly expensive at the time, but it's old. It does Dolby, it does all that stuff, but it claims that it will, like, if you're watching something that just has, like, say I don't have cable, but if I was watching cable and it has just, left and right channels, it has some sort of processor in it that will produce like fake surround sound. It's not great, but it's okay.
Yeah, a lot of the companies will advertise stuff like that. And like even Sonos with just the basic ARC soundbar, like what I have at home, even putting the volume at like 20, it sounds like there's more than just a soundbar.
Sure.
And the biggest reason for getting a soundbar, for getting any of those like surround sound audio options, is what we touched on earlier. The big CRTs that had more space and more uh, like ability for the cone of the speaker to travel, they sound better than a newer TV does today.
Right.
So having a soundbar is the number one accessory when you get a TV, because you're going to just get better sound quality in general.
Okay.
Because the other thing is that the old CRTs had the speakers in the front, which made logical sense. You're
Right.
having the speaker, you're having sound come out the TV at you. Now, unless you get one of the super high end Sonys where the speakers are built into the screen, all the speakers are either in the bottom of the TV pushing down, either like to the floor or to like a TV stand or anything like that, or they're in the back of the TV where they're pushing out and into the
Right.
wall. And then what are you really getting at
Right.
for sound?
It's the same reason you would get like a Bluetooth speaker versus just your cell phone
Right.
speakers.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, to cover display, we covered audio. Those are the two biggest things. What about like if I wanted to make my space better? Let's talk about like lighting, for example. Like you in a theater experience, you sitting there, you waiting, and then the lights come down, and you've still got a little bit of like ambient light, but they really try to make it an experience, a whole experience to be in the theater. Well, how do I do that at home? Like I know we have whole other episodes on smart lighting, so maybe just touch on it a little bit.
Yeah, it all comes down to the type of control system that you would want to use. So like the biggest project that we've worked on is a guy that did a whole home theater room in his house. So we did everything through Lutron and RTI control. So the Lutron covers all the lighting aspects. So when we hit a button on the RTI remote, it will do whatever it needs to do through the Lutron. So like there is stuff set up with his Kaleidoscape system, which is a company that we partner with for super high end movies. Just as a little plug for it, uh, they actually they get the master reels from the studios, and they make their own uncompressed versions for video and audio. So it's as crispy as it can be for both sound and like looking at everything.
Right, without buying the actual home theater setup that you'd get for like, or without buying the actual theater setup that you'd get at AMC or whatever.
Right.
Which, no, I'm sure there are people out there that do it, but for the majority of people, that's pretty unattainable.
Well, and Kaleidoscape is a mildly expensive system to start out, but the movies are very comparable for price for like buying on Amazon or buying, through
Right.
HBO or whatever it is. But they're super crispy for the video. They're super crispy on the audio. Like there are things that I've heard and seen in those movies that I would never even have thought to look for or hear in a movie at home. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Well, so you touched on, you said RTI remote. Maybe
Yeah,
tell us what that is.
RTI is a control system that you can use either like with a tablet app, like iPad, Samsung tablet, anything like that, or like phone app, and then they do physical like hard remotes.
Are those the remotes that have the screen and touch screen that you
Some
see?
of them have screens, yeah.
Yeah.
And the one that we put in for the guy that did the home theater setup is a touchscreen one. Does have physical buttons at the bottom as well. But everything that is controlled within that room is done from that remote.
Okay, so the lighting and audio, all that stuff.
Yeah, so when he opens his Kaleidoscape on the remote, it runs a scene from Lutron to the RTI and back out to all the devices to say, hey, do all these things. So when he opens Kaleidoscape, it dims the lights, all the lights in the room down to like 50%, I think. And then when he starts the movie, it drops all the blinds in the room because we have Lutron blinds in there as well. So it drops all the blinds in the room. It drops the coffer lighting that he has in the molded ceilings. down to 10%, drops the and like all the other lights in the room to give that very low ambient light.
Hmm.
Um,
Basically for safety,
right, just in
so you
case
can
anybody
find the
gets up
remote
or
or yeah,
is playing.
yeah, yeah.
Then there's also an intermission scene. So if he hits pause on the movie, it'll bring up the lights to I think 40%, just so that everybody can see a little bit if they
Mhm.
need to, move on to the powder room in the corner or go get something from a different room, anything like that. And then the same thing for when he leaves that activity as well. So if he switches off Kaleidoscape to, play music through his Sonos or switch over to Roku or anything like that, it will bring all the lights back up. It'll bring the blinds back up so that everything is the way that it should be as soon as he
Right.
hits the button for it. Um, which
That's
is
a
it's
pretty
dope.
yeah, it's a pretty cool setup. I've luckily been able to see it. I mean, just turning on you hit the one button and the screen and the projector drop from the ceiling where they're hidden, the blackout blinds coming down, the lights going down. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Those types of setups, those types of technology really like, if he could have an 8K TV in there and it'd be sweet, but it really is an experience when you have all of that other stuff going on.
Right.
It really elevates
Yeah,
the movie watching experience.
for that particular project, it's as much of having the actual hardware as it is the aesthetic of the experience.
Right. Yeah,
Because it is an 8K projector.
Yeah.
So it's very future forward for the projector. Whenever we get to content like that, um, you can look at trailers and stuff for the movies on the Kaleidoscape. I was calibrating the projector the other day, and after I calibrated it, he had in his like new setup or like newly purchased movies or whatever, all of the Star Wars movies. So I threw on episode one just
Right.
to
Yeah.
see how it would look.
Yeah. You gotta probably. I would probably switch to the podcast or the pod racing scene.
Oh yes.
It's so good every time. Man, super nostalgic for me. I actually, as a tangent, obviously we're nerds. I went to opening night with my parents.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I think it came out in '99, so I was buying. And my mom was a huge Star Wars nerd. My dad liked Star Wars, but he had never seen them until he met my mom. So she's the one that kind of pushed the nerd culture in our family. But yeah, it was so cool. I remember standing in line and there were people dressed up like stormtroopers and Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker or whatever. And it was like, as a 9-year-old who grew up watching those movies hundreds of times, it was like, this is the coolest thing ever. That was so cool. Yeah.
The equivalent to going to like a convention or anything.
Yeah,
It's just a
exactly.
movie.
Yeah. But specifically for Star Wars, which has been a big part of my life for a long time.
Yep.
So we covered smart lighting. We covered audio, we covered display. For like a home theater setup, let's talk about seating because I know that EcoSmart Home carries some different seating options. We have like home theater um, seats.
Yeah, they're effectively the same style you get from a theater or like that you'd see in a theater, especially like more of the TSX or like the VIP seating is what they call it, I guess
Sure.
these days. And there are different versions. There's motorized ones. There's ones that have the cool RGB lighting in them. Wireless chargers built into the armrest that you like slot your phone into. I don't know any of the brands offhand or any of the pricing, but
Right.
I know that we have them.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean it's something that is very specific. I know, it just depends. The person that you were talking about, he worked with, I think, um, like a designer.
Yeah,
Right?
you worked with an interior designer. So there isn't any actual like theater seating. It's more of like a TV lounge.
Right.
So it's something that they can go into and like hang out on the couch and take the remote, pop on their Sonos, and then they can
Right.
play stuff through that. Or, like he's got a couple kids, so they come in and they want to watch Netflix or play on the Xbox or anything like that. Like all that's hooked up through the different things and the different sources that we put in. He's got a record player, he's got a CD player for more of his classical stuff that he likes to listen to. So he can, drop the blinds, drop the lights, and pop on the CD player or his Tidal player, which is a different streaming service that's similar
Yeah.
to.
I think they're supposed to like, I could be wrong, but I think they're supposed to focus on like lossless audio or something super high quality.
Which it sounds really nice.
Yeah.
So go with what you like, I
Right.
guess.
Okay, we don't have to dwell on theater seating or home theater seating. I know at least it's an option.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to build a home theater and you want seating more than just a couch, there's options.
Yeah.
EcoSmart Home has options. Other integrators near you probably also have those options.
Yeah, and just as like a separate or like a quick point, I suppose. Steven was actually working on a house downstate that they were setting up a small theater and they were actually going to do the staggered
Oh, cool.
theater seating.
Yeah.
So we have had options, or I guess not options, but interactions with clients that have wanted those types of seating as opposed to like more of a lounge space.
Cool. All right, well, let's move on to smart control. You kind of already touched on it a little bit with the universal remote. I know like Logitech makes one. That's kind of like a more DIY commercially available one.
It's a little bit more limited in what it does, and relies entirely on you being able to program it the way that you need it to do it. It is the Harmony remotes. And then I know that obviously RTI, depending on what you go with for like a home assistant, if you have one, Siri, Alexa, Google, even Sonos can do some voice control stuff.
Sure.
There are different things that you can use to control with that. So like using HomeKit, you can use your phone or an iPad or anything to control all that.
So
with the HomePods.
So it'd be like Alexa, turn on home theater or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have mine set up. I have Alexa at home, but I have it integrated into the Sonos for the living room. So like when I tell it to turn on the living room, turns on all the lights and turns on the TV because it's in that room of the house. And you can set that up with any of the other ones. Again, with Josh, you can do all that stuff as well, which is another voice assistant that we work with, as well as app and physical control, keypads and tablets and whatnot that you can mount to the walls. And same with Lutron. You can do it all with Lutron as well, especially if you have everything set up with the right control systems. You would need a secondary control system to physically turn on the other devices, which is why, like with that other project we talked about, we're using a combination of Lutron and RTI.
Right.
Just to make sure that everything works together and talks together to give you what you're looking for.
Right. So as far as controlling a home theater, you're not limited. Well, I mean, the reason, so my partner, she oftentimes will not even watch TV because we have so many remotes. You have the PlayStation or Xbox controller, you've got the TV controller, the controller for the sound bar. It just like
it becomes a lot.
It becomes a lot. So you can essentially replace all those remotes with one, is what you're saying,
right.
Or move to like voice control or like iPhone apps or something like that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Minus the game controller, because
well,
you can never replace that.
You couldn't replace it fully, but I know like for my Xbox, I can use my phone as a remote.
Right. Yeah, you can use the app and everything like that.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, depending on how you everything's set up, you can go from 4 or 5 remotes down to 1. If you do something through RTI, or if you have the ability to program a control 4 system, or which is a super crazy system that is, it's interesting to say the least. Or like getting a Harmony remote or anything like that. Or depending on how you have your TV and soundbar set up, you can cut down on one of those remotes by plugging everything in through the ARC channel, which is audio return channel. So like we have that one set up for ARC. I have the one at my house set up for ARC as well. So my TV remote doubles as the soundbar remote.
Okay, yeah.
Which is super convenient. I don't have to worry about having a remote. As far as I know, Sonos doesn't even make a remote for their sound bars because you have to plug it in through ARC.
Right.
And if you do it through optical, I think it still technically considers it ARC because it is a converter from ARC to optical, which is super cool. Giving 2 options to do the same thing. But it makes it really convenient to not have to have a second remote. With my old soundbar, I had to have a second remote because the ARC channel was kind of like fuzzy.
Right.
So we would be constantly losing one remote or the other. I tried putting the little like 3M Velcro strips on the wall to put the remotes on the
Yeah.
wall,
Yeah.
but then everybody stopped putting the remotes on the wall, so then they get Velcroed to the couch, or
Right.
they'd still get lost, and it was just a pain because you'd be like, oh, I want to go turn it up, but I'm comfortable on the couch under this blanket, ready to go,
Hmm.
and I gotta
Yeah.
you gotta ruin all that to go click the button a couple times
Right.
because can't find the remote.
Right.
Yeah. So being able to integrate the different parts and cut down on the remotes is always a good
Yeah.
convenience aspect.
Yeah. It's something that I know, like, if you a lot of people will stream from their like game systems, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. I think both of those companies make like a media remote.
Yep.
It's not a smart remote, but if you're if everything's plugged in, it'll if everything's hooked up correctly, you can use that one remote. I have one for my Xbox. I still haven't got one for my PS5 yet, but um, I can use that remote to turn on my Xbox. It turns on my TV and my soundbar. I can adjust the volume, all the one remote. Unfortunately, with the current setup, my Xbox it doesn't fit in my with the Series X, it doesn't fit in the console. I have to put it behind the TV, so I can't even use that remote. So luckily my PS5 lays flat. It fits in there. I'll probably get a PS5 one because we've been watching a lot on the PS5. So.
Sure. Yeah, mine's just behind the TV because I don't have enough space in front of it. So
Right. All right. So we talked a little bit about the different things that go into a smart or just home theater in general.
Right.
In 2025 nowadays. Every episode we talk about this, and we're going to talk about it again.
It's going to be a staple. Absolutely.
Network setup. So talk to us about why specifically in home theaters you need a solid network setup, and why if you just have your charter or whatever box, and you have like the all-in-one charter box, why that's probably not good enough.
Right. Or Comcast or any other
Yeah.
ISP that anybody that listens
Verizon.
overseas may have.
Yeah.
It all boils down to the same thing every time. Having a good network has a good connection and a good experience with any of the devices that you're trying to work with. So like we have Charter at home or Spectrum, whatever their name is now these days, because it goes back and forth. Uh, and like I have an Eero setup, so I have the modem to the Eero to a switch for all the stuff in the living room, but then I have one that doubles back to my office for a second hardwired uh, like Eero node to create that network across the house and make everything work as it should.
Right.
When it was wirelessly meshing, I was getting a slower speed from the office one, but I could still have a hardline connection to my computer, and I was having issues with my computer where it would lag, or like if you're playing a game or anything, you can get all that information in the corner. I would see the ping go way up, so then all of the responses for everything was really slow. Packet loss, that data is not actually getting to or from the computer. And being able to have a good network and a solid network prevents a lot of that stuff.
Right.
So when I redid the network to make it be a hardline connection, I haven't had any issues since. It's been smooth sailing. Everything's been good. Everything loads the way that it should because I'm actually getting that full hardline connection instead of a wireless one. While again, networks are important. Wireless meshing networks are great, but they work better if they can be hardwired. And that's something that I tell everybody that we work with and everybody that we potentially work with.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we're going to do your network setup, we want as many things to be hardwired as possible.
Right.
The more things that are wired, the better experience you're going to have with it. Yeah, we have to run more cables, but it's going to be worth it at the end.
Right.
Wireless is super convenient, but the speeds just aren't there yet. So having a good network and a good connection to the devices that you're using for your home theater is just going to make everything better. You're not going to have as much buffering with your streaming services, whether that's with the smart TV or like if you still have a dumb TV these days, which totally fine. If it still works, it still works, getting a Roku box or Apple TV, anything like that. Most of those models will have an Ethernet port for you to be able to physically plug in and have that hardline connection for your network. Because doing anything with streaming, you hate the buffering.
Right.
I hate when the picture quality goes from what it should look like to This was
12
2000.
pixels. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so having the hardline connection, having the better quality connection prevents that from happening.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, it's in anything we do that is stable network. We're going to talk about it. If we've talked about it every episode, we're going to talk about it every episode.
It could be something so far removed. It could be outdoor audio with, you know, absolutely nothing to do with the network. It will have something to do with the network.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say I move into my first house. I set aside some money for like a home theater setup, or at least like a upgraded living room setup. I go to Best Buy. I buy a TV, a sound bar, um, and that's what I have. Like, let's say I have an Xbox too. Uh, what like I guess where that's what we would consider DIY. You can do all that yourself. It's really easy to set up. Obviously, Eco could do a setup on something like that, and usually if you buy a product from us, we will offer that. But where does that threshold go from? It's more cost effective to DIY it to you should probably call it professional.
I would say that if it's anything more than, setting up the soundbar, getting the TV through its initial setup, you know, the TV setups are so simple these days that, it's similar to whenever my grandma gets a new phone. I tell her she can read, she can do it, but she uses it as an excuse for me to come over it.
Of course, yeah.
With her, which is fine. But for the first handful of years that she would ask me to do it, I'm like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
Do you need this? Do you need this? And that's how the new TV setups are. It's, hey, put in your Wi-Fi password so that we can get everything connected, get you apps, get you whatever. Depending on the operating system, it's going to ask you for like a Samsung account or, like if you get a Hisense, you have to do a Hisense account,
Right.
Stuff like that. Super simple setups. But if you're doing anything more, if you're doing more like of the integration where you're putting in like some kind of control system or your routing cables, like if you're doing a renovation when you do your audio setup and you want to pre-wire for like different speakers and stuff. Like the guy that we did the big projector stuff for, he did in ceiling and in wall speakers for his audio setup.
Okay.
So the stuff that involves more, I don't know what the right word is, more effort or more things that could potentially go wrong to where you want to avoid having to talk to somebody about that later. I would say that would be more of a threshold.
Well, in that specific client that you were talking about, he already had an interior designer and plumbers and electrical people coming in anyway.
Right.
Drywall walls were getting ripped out. So because those are open, sounds like that was a great opportunity for us.
It was the perfect opportunity
to come in. Yeah.
We were working with all the different contractors pretty closely. So like the electrician, when they were running stuff for the lighting that we were controlling, we had to have some play in that. So anytime that they were doing anything with it, we would talk with them about working for what we needed to do. And then anything that they needed from us, we would try to help them with.
Right.
And then same with the drywalling guys, like when they finished putting up the drywall, we had run the speaker wires. So it was like, hey, just pop a hole wherever that cable is and poke it through a little bit, and then we'll take care of the rest. And it was a super fun project being able to mount those speakers, and they're ones that are different than your generic in wall or in ceiling speakers where you still see the grill. They were fully behind the drywall, so they get mudded over, they get painted over. You can't tell that they're there unless you're walking around with a magnet on the wall.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's especially for a client who is working with an interior designer where the aesthetic is what is kind of first and foremost.
Right.
Yeah, being able to have that, and also same reason why, from what I remember, same reason why he went with like in ceiling, like a hidden projector and screen, because when it's off, it just looks like a lounge.
Yep.
He's got a little wet bar and powder room and stuff, so like it just looks like a kind of lounge, and then.
Yeah, and he's got art on the wall where the projector screen comes down so that when it comes back up, there's, you still see the pocket because like you can't hide all of it.
But it's just a small channel.
Right. and then you see all the art on the wall. Then when the screen comes down, covers the art, projector drops down out of the ceiling.
Right.
But when it goes back, there's just a little square of like double framed ceiling.
Right.
And anybody that doesn't know what's going on would just think it's another part of the room.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super cool room. But I did hear we have some questions.
Okay. So, all right. Well, first question is from Kyle from Traverse City.
Ooh.
He says, "Hey guys, love the podcast. Just found it and listened to all your episodes. Love tech as much as you guys, I think." He says, love big sound, but I rent a duplex and my neighbors already hate me. Is there any way to get punchy bass without rattling the walls?
You know, it's the eternal struggle of sharing a wall with somebody. My in-laws are on the other side of my duplex, so we have a similar living situation. He's getting a little bit on in years, so he's got the giant like stacks from the 80s
Sure.
and 90s,
Yeah.
3 foot tall speakers, and if I'm upstairs on the other side of the house, I can still hear what he's listening to on TV.
Dang.
I can feel it. I can hear
Just
like
cranking the
I can
that
hear
volume.
bits and pieces, and it's always like a Transformers movie or
Sure.
whatever's on FX that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for situations where you don't have as much leeway with that, Sonos does make subwoofers that are meant to cancel out the like rumbly, crazy bass that regular subwoofers do. It's one active side and one passive side, so it hits that passive side and kind of cancels out a lot of the rumble, but you still get that bassy punch. So you could try something like that. Otherwise, if it's on a shared wall, like if it's on that wall that goes between the two houses, you could move the subwoofer to any of the other walls in the room, and as long as it's still like in a corner or somewhere where it can bounce that sound off of, it's going to cut down on the amount of rumble and the amount of like vibration you're going to feel through that shared wall. So while not a perfect solution, it's better than
Sure.
nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question. All right. The next one is from Mariah from Grand Rapids. She said, "Hey guys, I've
Nice.
heard about you guys for years. Unfortunately, never had the money to bring you guys in on a project, but I want the huge screen experience, but I've got windows everywhere in my living room. Are projectors even worth it if you can't black out the whole room?"
It's a very interesting and thought-provoking question, which sounds really annoying and cliche, but it's true because we dealt with a very similar situation with the guy that we did the projector room for here in Marquette. It can be worth it to still have a projector in a room that has a lot of ambient light. If you can reduce it but not black it out, then doing a projector is still good. There are some projectors that have higher nits, which is like the brightness level similar to like the brightness on a laptop or on your phone screen. That's all done in nits, and it shows like it can give you a bigger screen, can give you some of that color quality and some of that picture quality you're looking for. But if you're just doing it in a completely, you know, un unchanged room, it's not super worth it. The IPS displays and stuff that are on bigger TVs, while they are a little bit more expensive to get a big screen TV like that, 86, 90-inch TVs, they're they're fairly expensive
Right.
compared to a projector where you can go up to 120 inches just by being far enough away. Uh, the IPS displays and stuff are still going to be better. The glare is still not going to be great,
Right.
but it's going to be less than it would be on a washed out projector.
Sure. I guess alternatively, I don't know what that room setup looks like, but even Walmart sells like blackout
Yeah,
curtains that are pretty inexpensive.
and they're not perfect.
Right.
Like the projector room that we have here in Marquette, they have the blackout shades, but they also have brush guards on the side of the window,
Probably brushed it. They're black.
and it catches that extra little bit on the sides of
Right.
the window and the bottom, so there is almost no light that comes through those.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, certainly, it's something that if you have a specific room setup, you could send us some pictures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Same where you sent the questions, Mike at Eco Smart Home Pros. More than happy to take a look at them and kind of give your us your give you some of our ideas on what we would do in that situation. Good question. Um,
Yeah, I love that we're actually getting questions.
it's great. Yeah, it's super awesome. Dave from New York City.
New York.
Uh,
That's crazy.
my buddy spent more on his universal remote than I did on my soundbar. Can't I just use my phone?
Yeah, I mean, you can absolutely just use your phone for the control of it. If your buddy has more to put onto that remote to get more value out of it, it absolutely is the better option.
Yeah.
But if it's just something as simple as he bought the really expensive remote to control the soundbar that he could have a second remote for, he just wanted to have a fancy remote.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where none of this stuff is a need when it comes to home theater, but
Never necessary, but
if you want that heightened experience, or maybe some people just don't like going to the theater, but they want that theater experience at home. Some of this stuff is kind of falls in that ballpark.
right.
So yeah, you can certainly use your phone, use the remote on your TV, use several remotes. There's a lot of low tech options you can use, namely the ones that come with the devices you're using. But yeah, you can use your phone for sure.
Yeah, we'll never, we won't always recommend the highest tech option for a solution because sometimes it's just not necessary. But if the client wants something like that, or they want the convenience, or they want the aesthetic, like that's where those higher tech options are going to be more valuable to the client, or to to whoever is looking for that thing, potential client, anything like that. Like the guy we did the setup for here, Marquette, which is a staple of this episode because it's the craziest home theater we've ever put in.
Yeah, well, at least here in Marquette.
Yeah. He has that remote and has everything controlled by it.
Right.
The shades, the lighting, the audio, all of the different inputs for the projector as well. So like switching to Tidal, switching to Sonos, switching to the Roku, the Kaleidoscape, when the Xbox is plugged in that room. Like there are specific inputs and specific buttons on that remote that switch all of that for him, so that he doesn't have to have 5 or 6 remotes for all those different things. So that there's always a spot for the high tech solution.
Right.
It might not be necessary.
All right, last question. I thought we had 3. We have 4. Is from Jess from Seattle. I keep seeing
all
kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
I keep seeing tutorials with insulation and fabric stapled to wood frames. Do these actually work, or am I better off buying foam panels on Amazon? Okay, I'll answer that if you don't mind.
Yeah, you're the audio guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So insulation and wood frames is going to be infinitely better than those cheapo Amazon foam panels. Those foam panels, the ones on Amazon that you buy like 50 of for $50 or whatever, they do nothing. They look cool. They can look cool, I guess. They don't all look cool. But they can look cool. If you're a streamer that doesn't have issues with audio, sometimes they put them up just for something on the wall or aesthetics. But I mean, technically they do cut down, but so minimally that you're not going to notice a difference.
Yeah, like it may be a decibel or 2
Maybe.
absorption.
So really what you would want if you're going to do a DIY situation, insulation, wood frames, they work great. I would recommend something like rock wool, or like a specific, like if you're going to go buy insulation, buy something that's specifically treated for like acoustic
for
treatment.
Sound insulation.
But if you already have insulation, that's still going to be better than nothing, and it's going to also be better than the Amazon, those really cheapo foam panels.
And there are better options
Yeah.
that you can get either on Amazon, or like we work with a company, Feltrite. We work with another one whose name escapes
Elgato.
me at the moment. Elgato is I don't know if we work with.
We do.
Oh, do we?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've actually put those in 2 different projects.
Oh, I thought that was a different brand.
It might those projects might have been before you were with the company, but we've used them before. They work great. There's tons of different options. We have Art Novian, that's the company.
Yeah, that's the red ones.
Yeah, we have a few right over there. I can see them. But there's tons of options. So if you're not wanting to spend the money, DIY certainly is a great option. You can just insulation, wood frames, throw some fabric on them to look cute.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, there are more professional grade options. The Elgatos really aren't that they're not that expensive. If you don't need a ton of them, they're not horrible. So also look at that. It's a good option too.
Yeah, and Felt-Right they're lesser than the giant octagonal tiles. You can get like thinner like rectangular pieces, and then you can actually make designs and stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen designs on the website where somebody made like R2D2 out of acoustic panels.
Yeah, awesome.
Because why not?
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good question. Doing the DIY versus the looking into the more quote unquote professional option or installation. It doesn't have to be pretty if it works.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, so we've talked a lot about home theaters. It's been pretty great. We had people message again, which is awesome. Glad to see that.
Yeah, and especially like seeing people from outside the state.
Yeah. I think most of them were from like Michigan, but yeah, there were a couple from New York and Seattle, which is awesome. That means we're reaching people.
Yeah.
Love to help people with this kind of stuff. We're super into tech. We love talking about it. But yeah, I mean, really what we have talked about is, yeah, you don't really need a huge budget for doing some of this smart stuff or even a home theater. You can, if you have a little bit of money to get really good products, make sure you're focusing on the right products.
Right.
Basically having a good plan. Yeah, that's really going to be more beneficial than throwing as much money as you can at it. So yeah, please email us, Mike at EcoSmartHomePros. Any questions if you want, that one viewer who wrote in, send us photos of your living room.
The projector.
Yeah, more than happy to take a look at them and kind of just give you what we would do or what a good idea would be.
And separately, I think she was from Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
We could send Steven out there and
yeah, if you're looking to have a professional actually come into your home, our main headquarters is in Muskegon, Michigan, so really not that far.
And we do free site visits.
Yeah, we do free site visits. So, we're also often every year we're at the Grand Rapids Home and Garden Show.
The New Builder Show.
Yep.
The Home and Garden Show. I think we did the Cottage Show again this year as well.
Yeah.
So all those ones at the DeVos Center.
Yep.
I usually come down for those. It's a grueling several weeks of my life.
Yeah, they're long, but they're fun. I love talking to people about different tech and the things we can do. But yeah,
it's the 6-hour drive.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're close or you're in the area around that time, swing by. If you're in Muskegon, you can come into our showroom too. Just make sure you make an appointment first. It's all by appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate all the listeners, if people who wrote in. Like I said, write in if you have any questions or whatever. Mike at ecosmarthomepros.com. Please subscribe, follow us on social media. Yeah, we appreciate all the listens, and next episode should be in a couple weeks.
We're talking about tech in rental homes.
Yeah, specifically
voice assistant stuff.
Yeah, nowadays there's a lot of the housing market's crazy. I mean, we rent our place. So when I'm looking to buy tech, I'm looking to buy stuff I'm going to be able to bring with me.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about next week. So please, any questions, email them in. We'll get to them next week, or sorry, next episode. Yeah. When we talk about it in a couple weeks. Yeah. Thanks for chilling and hanging out.
Yeah, always.
Talking tech.
My desk is 15 feet that way, so.
All right.